Hey there, this is Jonathan Barkan, the managing editor of DreadCentral.com, and I'm here with Colin Minahan, the writer and director of What Keeps You Alive. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
You doing pretty good?
Yeah.
Here at South by, how are you enjoying the experience so far?
It's just getting started, so I really think I just got out of the hotel for the first time like an hour ago, so I'm not too sure yet.
Not
We'll
too
see.
sure? You're in a state of anticipation for all
Yeah,
the
exactly.
fun and parties?
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start at the beginning for What Keeps You Alive. Can you tell me a bit about just what inspired the story
Sure.
and what got you to write it?
Yeah. I feel like, it came about kind of like I'd made 3 movies before that were all more in the supernatural landscape of genre cinema, and I wanted to make something that was a lot more grounded in just like harder reality. And I was reading articles about just men that had killed their wives, and I stumbled across a few that were like repeat offenders who got busted on like the 3rd or 4th wife, basically. And I thought, that's a really cool way into like what kind of person would do that. And I started just starting to read about psychopaths and doing a lot of research, and then came up with an idea that I thought would be an effective, low budget kind of two-hander, a bit of a revenge film, a bit of a story of deceit, and something that I thought I could put my stamp on that wasn't necessarily like the Vicious Brothers stamp of previous movies that I'd done. So, yeah.
All right, and obviously one of the things that makes this film stand out, even though the way that it's presented in the film is very normal, is the fact that it's a lesbian couple and not a straight couple. And I'm wondering, was that a specific intention, or do you feel like this movie would have essentially been the same had it been straight, gay, or lesbian?
Well, it was written initially, I had initially written the role for a guy. So it was always a guy, and then it kind of like, it dawned on me, it's one of those ideas that I had like halfway through the script. I was like, oh, this would be really interesting to write this psychopath character from a female's perspective, because that's just there's not a lot of really great iconic psychopath characters that are female in cinema. So I think of like Glenn Close or Charlize Theron, and they've, the wide range of males that have had that opportunity. So the first draft existed as a husband-wife story, and it was only really when the guy who I'd specifically written the role for got a long TV show and a contract offer and had to step away from the project. And then I was like, you know what? I didn't want to try to find another person, and so I started going back to that idea that I'd kind of pushed away, which was to make the character female. And I was scared at first because I thought, rewriting the script, we already had a shoot date set, so it was a race to kind of adapt it, but it was surprisingly easy to adapt as well. And my previous film, It Stains the Sands Red, I wrote the lead character from a male perspective too, just because I'm a guy and I picture a guy saying the lines, but it's stunningly easy to just change the character name and have most of the dialogue and most of the intent behind the scenes stay the same. So not a lot had to change.
And do you think that that kind of a representation is important, where we see a loving woman, but at the same time also a psychopathic woman in this relationship and on screen?
Well, I think like Hannah was saying, like when I was reframing the story to be a female relationship of a same-sex couple, I think it's kind of funny when I look at the genre or just cinema as a whole and recognize how underserved these different cultures or different sexualities are in cinema. And so I'm a fan at this point. I think that, we've seen enough coming out stories and we know that journey. Now it's time to just represent people, without that even being part of the conversation, really. So I think it makes no difference. It could have been, it doesn't ultimately matter. They're just human beings. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you put it now, ultimately they're human beings, but there's still, I'm wondering, were there any difficulties for you as a director to try and help direct Hannah and Brittany in this relationship that they have, where it's loving, and then it's a battle.
I just knew that there's an inherent risk as a straight white male making the film that, you know, I'm going to create my version of a lesbian relationship. And I was very careful not to approach it that way, and speaking with other couples about, you know, the different dynamics to make it as real as possible, and you know, not have that perspective really be a part of that. But you know, obviously you really only see them as this bright couple for a certain amount of time before kind of it just becomes a pure genre picture. So,
and talking about genre pictures, what is your story and in your love of genre, and you know, getting you to the point that you're making these kinds of films?
I mean, I don't know. It's a tough question to answer because I love like a broad spectrum of films. It's, you know, on my top 10 list, it's not all horror movies. It's not all necessarily thrillers. So I think at the stage in my career that I'm at, you know, when I write a project, it's such a commitment to get it on the page that I want to make sure I'm not writing a $10 million movie that is going to maybe be made 20 years from now. You know, I've got a catalog of those scripts that I have written, you know? So I'm trying to just find stories that excite me, and stories that I'm fascinated by, and characters that I find appealing, and go from there.
All right. And when we spoke with Brittany, you know, said that it was, this is the third film, if I'm correct, that you are working on together. And, you know, you obviously have a long relationship that now, and a good rapport built between the two of you. But, you know, you've got an alien movie, you've got her running through the desert, now you've got her running through the forest. So next year you're going to send her to like Antarctica or something? What horrible place are you going to send her to next time?
We'll see. I don't know yet. Every day, like I definitely ask the question, what's next for you? What am I writing next? And I'm trying to find what that's going to be, so I don't know the answer quite yet.
No, but you have little inklings of ideas of how can I torture her
They're not,
a little bit more.
That's inadvertent. That just, you know, it's part of the.
It's a purposeful, inadvertent kind of side thing.
Exactly.
All right. So when it comes to What Keeps You Alive, as I said, it's a film that deals with representation, but also the normalization of this lesbian couple. But there is such anger and worry. And basically, you see that now the idea of representation should be that it's very positive. It's very, you know, we need to show gay people in wonderful light. Same thing with lesbians, with different races, different sexualities. So there is a bit of a risk, as you used that word earlier, on showing a lesbian woman in a violent and aggressive way. What kind of mentality do you have with that?
I mean, I think that if we start censoring every idea, we're going to end up a very Puritan culture, and that would bore me to death. So I don't really, you know, whatever. For me, I ultimately make the film because it excites me. I hope that it excites other people. If it offends people, good, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, let it offend a few.
All right. So what is coming next for you?
We'll see. There's a handful of projects. I just wrote a new script that I'm really excited about, but there's no like shoot date yet on any of them. So we'll see what we just had Stillborn come out that I was a producer on, and co-wrote, which was good to see the audience reaction to that. But yeah, I don't know yet. We'll see.
It's an exciting kind of place to be in. A little scary, but definitely exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, Colin, as with Hannah and Brittany, we have a little special gift for you.
Awesome.
Want to bring it? So we have here a box of Dread. And if you want to go ahead and open it.
Is there going to be like a corpse in here? Or
there's not a corpse, although we can try and work that out. Maybe next time, should I quote Big Lebowski? You want a corpse? I can get you a corpse.
Awesome.
But yeah, so each month the Box of Dread is specially curated. So hopefully one month we can get your curation of items inside. But as you can see, we have a signed poster for The Lodgers. We've got a copy in here of Tales of Halloween and a T-shirt as well. So
cool,
that is all for you.
Thanks, man. I'm excited to check this out. Actually, I haven't seen it.
No? All right. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a good one.
Definitely following a lot of these directors.
Awesome. All right. Well, Colin, thank you so very much.
Thanks much.
And best of luck to everything you've got going on.
Cool.
Find us right here daily during the festival at 12, 2, and 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Search hashtag Dread SXSW on social media for ongoing updates. Special thanks go out to our sponsors Epic Pictures, Dark Sky Films, and Shudder, and the South by Southwest Convention for having us here. DreadCentral.com, by fans, for fans.